Now at 5, we hear from former employees of the company considering taking over an old hospital in Fort Scott. Plus, an arrest in the New York subway shooting case.
Anxiety and burnout are huge problems facing healthcare workers. I'm Michael George with how virtual reality is being used to help relieve those symptoms.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
We're learning more about the company considering taking over an old hospital in Fort Scott and concerns of some former company employees. This is KOAM News at 5. Noble Health, a Kansas City-based healthcare company, is looking to come to Southeast Kansas despite recently ceasing all operations at its 2 hospitals in Missouri. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky joins us now with more.
Noble Health has suspended all operations in Mexico and Fulton, Missouri. Now they're looking to take over the Old Mercy Hospital building in Fort Scott. After our story of Noble officials presenting key findings of their feasibility study, Noble employees in Missouri reached out to us, voicing concern for Noble to come to Bourbon County. The hospital currently belongs to the county and awaits results of a feasibility study before any further action can be taken.
So if they're not willing to pay for medical supplies and stuff, I don't know how well they're willing to pay their employees at this future hospital.
So there shouldn't be a concern there, and I know there is, because I've had people say, well, no, we didn't give the building to Noble Health.
Commissioner Clifton Beth says originally the building was offered to Noble Health, but Noble turned it down until their feasibility study is completed. I'm Bronte Sorotsky for KOM News.
Bronte, thanks. Pitt State hosted their annual construction expo for the first time in 2 years. Local construction and appliance businesses set up stations and booths, giving students the opportunity to get hands-on experience running machines, using tools, and networking. More than 100 students attended.
Was to bring industry and connect them with our students here at Pitt State, but also area high schools and area community colleges, so students can understand the level of technology that's taking place in the construction industry.
The expo was open to not just Pitt State students, but also junior college and high school students as well. Checking in with Doug Heddy for a first look at the weather.
Well, of course, we had the showers. We had the thunderstorms last night, and then into the morning hours, some strong low-grade severe storms in southwestern parts of Missouri. And then now the colder air has been filtering in. Still a few light little showers out across southwestern Missouri, but in general, we're looking pretty good. We've been clearing out. All these strong storms continue to race off toward the east, but it's cold. Temperatures mid to upper 40s to lower 50s across the region. At least the winds aren't as bad as what we've seen over the past couple days. Still northerly wind kind of at about 10 to 20, but these are going to die down a bit as we go through the evening hours, but our temperatures are going to go down as well into the 30s by midnight, 34, 35 for a low. So we are going to get a pretty good frost across the region. When's our next storm system? We'll look at that here in just a bit.
See you then. Pittsburgh police arrested a suspect who they say shot at 2 people. Authorities say on Sunday, 41-year-old Elijah Shedd was following the 2 victims on a motorcycle before pulling around them at the intersection of Jefferson and Elm. There, he allegedly fired 3 rounds at them before driving off. The victims drove to the area of George Nettles Elementary, called police. Officers found Shedd yesterday and arrested him. He bonded out, but the arrest violated his parole from a previous conviction, so he was arrested again today. Police in New York City announced an arrest this afternoon in yesterday's shooting at a Brooklyn subway station. Investigators are combing through the social media posts of this suspect, 62-year-old Frank James, as they look for a motive. They say he detonated a smoke bomb inside the subway car, then started firing into the crowd. 10 people were shot and at least 29 people were treated for various injuries in the attack. All are expected to survive. The suspect will face federal terrorism charges. President Biden stands by his comment that Russian President Vladimir Putin is carrying out a genocide in Ukraine. This comes as the West is investigating the potential use of chemical weapons in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of using phosphorus bombs, which is against international law. A little later, a growing crime trend.
All of our cars contain a precious metal and thieves are after it. I'm Joy Benedict and I'll explain why.
But first, using virtual reality to help healthcare workers deal with stress. That's next in Health Watch. Topping today's Health Watch, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will extend the nationwide mask requirement for public transportation as it monitors an uptick in COVID-19 cases. The order was set to expire April 18th, but the CDC today extended it by 2 weeks to May 3rd. The administration had been hoping to roll out a more flexible masking strategy this week to replace the nationwide requirement. But in a statement today, the CDC said it will take the time to assess the impact the rise of cases has on severe disease, including hospitalizations and deaths, and health care system capacity. CDC data shows the rates of sexually transmitted diseases in the U.S. dropped early in the pandemic, but increased by the end of 2020. By the end of that year, gonorrhea rates had risen 10%. Rates of syphilis were up 7%. During the first year of the pandemic, the rates of overdose deaths among American teenagers nearly doubled compared to 10 years earlier. A study from UCLA says 954 adolescents died from drug use in 2020. Researchers say it's not that more teenagers are using drugs, but that the drugs they're using are more deadly, primarily fentanyls used in counterfeit pills. Health experts are recommending that children be screened for anxiety starting at the age of 8. The guidance from the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force reflects the worsening mental health crisis among young people since the start of the pandemic. The group says there's not enough evidence to recommend routine suicide screening. April is recognized as Stress Awareness Month, and we all know the high stress that healthcare workers have endured the past 2 years during the pandemic, many putting their own lives at risk while struggling to save others. Well, now research shows virtual reality can combat stress in a real way. Michael George has more.
Chris Miller is an ER nurse at Ohio Health Grant Medical Center. He says the pandemic created extremely tough obstacles, surge after surge.
It's just really difficult because historically you would come to work and you knew that you signed up for a stressful job, but you could kind of leave that at work. And now with the pandemic, it's everywhere.
To try to combat the stress, anxiety, depression, and burnout healthcare workers have been facing, researchers at Ohio University created and tested a tranquil virtual reality experience, immersing employees in nature. The 3-minute, 360-degree experience takes them into a lush green forest, birds chirping, leaves rustling in the wind.
It's a moment of respite in a very chaotic, overwhelming situation. It gives you an opportunity to get away, to escape into nature. And we know the health benefits of being in nature.
Dr. Elizabeth Beverly led the study.
This is a brief, accessible intervention. It's very low cost. It works for anyone who's on the unit, and we were able to reduce stress. We also found that this difference was a big difference.
The VR experience was very impactful for Chris.
You really get that opportunity to quiet your mind and get your thoughts to really focus on something beautiful.
He says he also tries to manage his stress at home and be as present as he can with his family.
When I go home, I really try to leave work at work, even though it's difficult.
Getting his mind to focus on other things helps him cope. Michael George, CBS News.
Researchers are looking at possible long-lasting stress benefits to the virtual reality experience, and they're introducing other scenes, including beaches and snow falling, since some people may prefer different scenes to relax. Teenagers who eat ultra-processed foods might be at a higher risk for obesity and future health problems. Those are foods with more chemical additives and high in sugar and fat. A study in Brazil found adolescents who eat the highest level of ultra-processed foods are 45% more likely to be obese. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, our pet vet on call.
Hi, I'm Dr. Eva Judek from Parsons Pet Hospital. Coming up, we're going to talk about why a cat pukes after she eats.
Well, we got the thunderstorms out of here, but now we have to deal with the cold temperatures once again. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, it definitely turned out to be a much colder afternoon for us after the showers, thunderstorms. We had some heavy amounts of rain this morning along and south of the I-44 corridor. Now on the north side, where the Joplin Airport is, only 0.2 of an inch, but some areas picked up 2, 3, 4 inches of rain in our southern counties with those thunderstorms during the morning hours. Some low-grade severe, at least we didn't have to deal with any big severe thunderstorms, but another event passes by. For the month, about 4 inches. For the year, 10.5 inches. So we're doing pretty good on rain. We're above average by 1.5 inches, which we always want to see this time of the year. We don't want flash flooding, but we want to stay caught up with rain. Looks fantastic. This is Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course. Indigo's just outside of Seneca, Missouri. It looks great. Clear skies behind the storm system, but it's cold. We're sitting into the upper 40s to low to mid 50s. We're going to drop back for us tonight. At least the winds aren't as strong as what they once were, especially the past couple days. But we're still getting these kind of northwest winds kicking in at about 10 to 20. And at times we're getting gusts 25 upwards to 30 miles per hour. As we go through the evening hours and the overnight hours, these winds will start to back down just a bit. 7th range line looks fantastic, 51. Northerly winds at 20. Humidity is at 61%. Through the evening hours, we drop back through the 50s, 40s. But look at this. We go into the mid 30s, so we're going to have a frost. I know nobody wants a frost in the middle of April. We're going to have one, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple more over about the next week and a half or so. All right, look at all the thunderstorms. So we had the big line last night. It was out to our west. As it rolled in, it weakened and then intensified right on top of us during the morning hours, pushed off toward the east, but very heavy amounts of rain in our far southern counties. Now we look okay. There's a couple little sprinkles up near Stockton Lake. Besides that, not too much going on. This storm system is rolling away from us. If we look out toward the west, we have a couple little weak waves, which will affect us Friday and then again on Sunday. But overall, we are looking pretty good. Let's go through time. Tonight, we drop back, mid-30s, frost. So a cold start, plenty of sunshine. Thursday looks great, mid-60s, just about a perfect spring day. 35 to start, 58 by noon, high temp 64, a southerly wind at about 5 to 15. Tomorrow night, we are going to start to get some clouds in here late, but it's going to be fine. On Friday, we'll start to get a few scattered showers and thunderstorms in here late morning, early afternoon, into the evening hours. And a few of these guys may be a little bit stronger, maybe low grade severe. I'm not concerned right now, but something we want to watch. And then we get cooler with just showers sticking around by the time we head into Saturday. But that's our next storm system we want to keep our eyes on. 64 tomorrow, cold start, 70 on Friday. Those afternoon thunderstorms, some morning showers Saturday. We are going to have some morning scattered thunderstorms on Easter, which a lot of people don't want to hear in the morning, Easter morning, but they're going to be out there. High temp is 61. More thunderstorms, severe threat next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Some Easter egg hunts might have to move indoors.
Yeah, they look scattered, so you can dodge them.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, I guess. Thanks, Doug. The Texas DOT has come up with a creative way to help drivers keep work zone crews safe. The department's El Paso district built this giant snake sculpture made entirely of orange traffic barrels that have been hit by distracted drivers. The hope is that it'll encourage drivers to be more attentive when behind the wheel, especially when driving through work zones and highway construction areas. This is National Work Zone Week. Coming up, catalytic converter thieves caught on camera. First, though, we recognize a four-state hero. Oologah, Oklahoma native Matthew Hicks served in the U.S. Marine Corps from 2001 to 2008. His duties took him to Iran and Iraq, and we are proud to salute Corporal Matthew Hicks, a four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, like many other companies, Nokia has announced its exit from Russia because of the attack on Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ericsson is putting its business in Russia on hold indefinitely. The moves by the two telecom giants cast doubt on Russia's ability to build super-fast 5G networks. However, Western leaders believe it's also necessary on humanitarian grounds to keep telecom networks functioning so Russia can access information from abroad, the Russians living there. To help with gas prices, President Biden is suspending a federal rule in order to allow more ethanol in gasoline this summer. White House officials say it could reduce the price at the pump by 10 cents a gallon. The Environmental Protection Agency will allow up to 15% ethanol mixed in, up from 10%. It's a theft that's been on the rise during the pandemic. Criminals are targeting cars and actually taking part of the exhaust system. Joy Benedict explains why.
David Summers' security camera caught a truck pulling up next to his. Then a man with a tool climbs underneath.
And then my security camera alerted me that someone was out front.
Summer ran out on his balcony and the men quickly took off.
I start screaming at these guys, "You're trying to steal my catalytic converter."
Catalytic converters are valuable because of the rhodium and palladium inside. Thieves can walk onto a driveway and saw one off in a matter of minutes.
Palladium is a very expensive metal. It's more expensive than gold.
Prices for the precious metal have been on the rise for years and then spiked when war broke out in Ukraine because Russia is a major palladium producer. Authorities say criminals get about $200 for one of the stolen devices, but victims have to pay $1,000 to $3,000 for a replacement. At this meat distribution center in Boston, 17 trucks were hit in one night.
They're brazen, they're fast.
Kevin Clower says thieves targeted his truck 3 times in the past few months.
We don't know what it's going to take to stop them.
Clower's insurance paid for the replacement, but not all policies cover it. Car owners can pay a mechanic to engrave their VIN number on the converter. That could deter a thief from taking it, or at least make the part traceable, if they do. Joy Benedict, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Several states are now considering legislation that would increase jail time for catalytic converter thefts and require scrapyards to document who sells them one. Human Rights Watch says Americans' lack of access to affordable insulin and other life-saving medication may contribute to human rights abuses. A new report from the organization says lawmakers' failure to regulate the pharmaceutical industry undermines the right to health and disproportionately impacts marginalized communities. Our Pet Vet on Call, next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, from high school to the pros, we're going to hear from the first professional female soccer player with $1 million contract. Then on KOAM News at 6, more from former employees of the company considering taking over a Fort Scott, Kansas hospital building. Plus some charges refiled in the Branson, Missouri duck boat tragedy. And a Pitt State football player returns from an ACL injury for his final season. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Everyone has stomach problems sometimes, even our pets, it seems. Today's question for our Pet Vet on Call: my cat vomits a lot after she eats. Is she overeating or is it something else?
But I would be inclined to think that it is the something else, because that could be something as simple as a mild GI obstruction like a hairball, to a more serious obstruction like GI disease, to even cancer and metabolic diseases that can cause nausea and vomiting. It could be serious. Take her to your vet.
Hey, thanks for the question. We invite questions from anyone. If you have one, you just send it to petvet@koamtv.com. Dr. Eva Dudek from the Parsons Pet Hospital answers a different question or brings us a fun fact every Wednesday right here on KOAM News at 5. You can also find answers to previous questions on our website. All right, let's check out our picks of the litter for the week. From the Joplin Humane Society, we've chosen this adult male domestic short-hair cat. His name is Julio. And from the Southeast Kansas Humane Society, we've chosen this 2-year-old female boxer Basenji mix. Her name is Alpine. If you're looking for a pet, why not at least check out your local Humane Society? Possibility of a frost tonight, Doug.
Yeah, I know we don't want to hear about that in the middle of April. A lot of people have already planted stuff or have plants outside, but yeah, we're going to get a frost. We're going to drop back into the mid-30s, so watch out for that. Thursday looks spectacular, 64, 70 on Friday, but we are going to be dodging a few afternoon thunderstorms.
Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. And of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.